Welcome to Sightings. I'm Tim White. When Ed Walters snapped the first pictures of a UFO over Gulf Breeze, Florida in 1987, skeptics discounted the incident as just another paranormal parlor trick. But since then, the anomalous craft have kept coming. Hundreds of people have seen them, and Gulf Breeze is now the acknowledged world capital for professional investigators and skywatchers alike. But why Gulf Breeze? Why now?
If you look, you'll see them, because they're there.
On vacation in 1991, Carol and Ken Baker and their daughter Jennifer fell in love with the charm of Gulf Breeze, Florida, and decided to move here. The Bakers did not know that they were moving into UFO Central, and frankly, at the time, they wouldn't have cared.
My husband and I often discuss it, and we really can't remember having had a conversation about UFOs in our life.
We weren't familiar with anything involving UFOs. We had no interest in UFOs. I don't even watch science fiction.
All that changed, however, on a balmy April evening in 1994. Carol was driving Ken to work.
I jammed the brakes on, and we were looking, out of the side of the car at it, and it was like nothing I'd ever seen before. We couldn't tell if it was three-dimensional, but it did look like a sphere that was about the size of a Volkswagen Beetle. And there was some kind of swirling inside of it, like a gas. And the thing that struck us most was it was extremely bright.
I felt it was my civic responsibility to actually report what I saw, because I didn't know what it was.
Our first instinct was probably to call the police or the military. And then we thought, well, maybe, that's not such a good idea. They'll think we're crazy. And someone where my husband works at the post office said, well, there's a UFO group in Pensacola, you should call them.
Show me the area where you were.
It was then that the Bakers had their first contact with the local Pensacola chapter of MUFON. They filed a sighting report and heard about Shoreline Park, the now famous spot where thousands of amateur skywatchers have gathered to scan the heavens for signs of extraterrestrial spacecraft. It all started with this photo and the man who snapped it, Ed Walters. In 1987, Walters released supposed hard evidence of a craft witnessed by many others, including local MUFON president Art Hufford.
By the middle of 1988, there were some 500 witnesses who had also come forward with UFO sighting reports. So it became a real hot issue in the area. And by the middle of January of 1991, sky watches had become a 7-night-a-week, year-round activity.
So we started to go, I guess, in May to Shoreline Park on a regular basis, maybe, 3 nights a week, 4 nights a week sometimes. And it was August the 12th before we had a sighting at Shoreline Park, and it was very different to what we had seen. And we've been just at this ever since now. It's a consuming interest for both of us.
At first, the Bakers were simply curious, but it was not long after their sighting at Shoreline Park that Carol and Ken began writing a weekly newspaper article about the Gulf Breeze UFO phenomenon.
The Allen newspaper. I started to ask why, these things were occurring and nobody wanted to write them. The Islander had published articles in the past, but there had been nobody that was able to do them. And I started in November '94, and for all of '95, it was almost a weekly occurrence. We had so many sightings.
Oh my God, just hovering right there.
Then, on July 21st, 1995, Ed Walters, the man who got Gulf Breeze residents searching the skies in the first place, captured another dramatic UFO appearance on videotape.
I thought I saw from my office window that looks out over the sound a very fast UFO, something, streak by. So I set up the camera, turned it on, went to work. Before I left, I came back in the room, and by God, there it was.
Whoa, there it is, off to the left, coming this way.
So I just spoke aloud as to what I was seeing as the UFO maneuvered.
Doing a loop.
Didn't get a whole lot of it, but it caught it as it came into field of view, turned, reversed its field, and swung around and left.
This UFO looked fake, so Walters contacted UFO analyst Dr. Bruce Maccabee. Dr. Maccabee is a research physicist under contract to the U.S. Navy and is an expert photo analyst. He is also director of the Maryland chapter of MUFON. When Ed Walters first called Dr. McAbee, he explained why this video could not have been faked.
As we talked, I noticed down below the UFO, along the tree line, you could see the movement of a shadow that moved with the UFO.
Coming back. Doing the loop. Doing the loop.
This videotape is very unique because of the fact that that shadow appears on a surface which is so far away it rules out the hoax.
But when Jeff Sainio, staff photo and video analyst for MUFON International, first saw the tape, he was far less impressed.
My first impression on seeing the video is, this is a really poor fake. I was not impressed at all. What changed my mind regarding it was a careful frame-by-frame check. Okay, up here we see the UFO in the enhanced version, and down here with the background subtraction, you can see an enhanced version of the shadow somewhat more clearly. So that complicates the fakery of this video. This video is the first time I've ever seen a shadow of a UFO on videotape.
But then, so much of the video that comes out of Gulf Breeze is one of a kind.
I think definitely there are certain areas in the world that seem to have a higher frequency of sightings than others. I've had 2 daylight sightings, and I would say between 100 and 120 nighttime sightings since the first one. It is a very hot spot, so to speak, and I don't know why.
Perhaps the same force that drew the Bakers to Gulf Breeze is also drawing in strange objects from another world. Because, for some reason, regular sky watchers here are rarely disappointed by their vigilance. Because most of the best UFO photographs and videos have come from one man, Ed Walters, skeptics charge that Walters is faking his famous evidence. But the jury's still out because so far, none of his material has been proven to be a fake.